not realize that etymology is going back to pre-English? Other languages, they didn't spell in English alphabets in those days, right? We've got to actually recognize what etymology is. So it does have very little to do with English spelling. But welcome, dear brother Toby. How are you doing today? It's an honor to have you as always, brother.
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, so when I spoke to you earlier about that was actually two different situations. There was a podcast I went on in March, and the lady said it's kind of a bit more than etymology. Like she was saying, it kind of goes beyond etymology kind of thing. Etymology is more of kind of like, I guess, quantifying, whereas what we do is more of dissolving the boundaries, kind of moving beyond. But I commented on Stein's YouTube the other day, and somebody was like, "That's not how you spell etymology. It's spelled E-T-Y, not E-T-E-M." So yeah, those were two different people. Like, one's a positive, one's a negative. One guy was saying that's not how you spell it, but really that's the thing. Etymology isn't really about the spelling. Like, the spell is the spellcraft, which is the written language. Whereas really with the frequency or the essence, like what we do is by splitting words, dissolving it, kind of finding the course, I guess, rather than the fact of like, this is how it is. It's like, well, let's see where it's come from, and let's chew on it. Hence how I spell it, etymology, like E-T-E-M, as in like eaten. Like, you got to eat it. You've got to kind of like chew on the words a little bit, chew on the information, so it's easier to digest, because people just see words, read words, say words, but they don't really know what they mean. Even people who say that's not how you spell it, it's like, oh yeah, according to who? According to you? Well, what, people get hung up on the spelling of how stuff looks, not how it feels. So what's the frequency? What's the essence behind it? But that's what we're all about here. So, fuck them.
It's reminding me of my ex-wife all over again. And like, thank God she's my ex-wife. Thank God I've got like a really cool girlfriend at the moment who's, she's actually like my wife. Don't tell her I told you. I haven't officially proposed, but like, she knows she's my wife. But yeah, my ex-wife she had these sort of brain hang-ups. And she used to have issues with, like, I would create new words. I would take a noun and turn it into a verb, and there were very defined rules of grammar for how you do this, right? And I went to like basically a Masonic school, right? Arguably one of the best schools in South Africa. So, and by that I mean, we actually got good education, right? Compared to the other, like, we were taught to think more than to just follow, because they were trying to breed the leaders, right? And the CEOs of corporations and that kind of thing. So they wanted people that could think outside of the box, where they want most of the people in the box, right? But they need a few people that can sort of manage the other people. So I went to a school which is like focused on how to become a manager of people. It's a weird concept, actually. And they wanted me to become a Mason and all of that nonsense, and join their old boys club, and pay for me to go study at what was it called? Top university in the world internationally. What's it called? I forget. They wanted me to go and study there and become a lawyer and everything. But I was like, no ways. I'll rather get a placard and stand on the street and protest against you guys, because I don't know what you're about. My headmaster like that's the first time he actually raised an eyebrow at me, surprised at how much I knew. But she used to have the same issues with spelling of words, and I never really bothered to explain it to her too much. I just used to be, there she goes again. I used to roll my eyes at her, because she went to a Catholic school, right? Catholic school, they don't want you to think. They just want you to memorize and do. I went to a different kind of a school where there was a lot more, like we had really good teachers compared to other schools, right? So in physics class, we would have discussions about the multiverse, right? We were talking about in like the early 90s when the multiverse didn't exist as official science yet. And we would be discussing like way out stuff. And so they actually encouraged discussion. And I didn't know at the time how lucky I was to be in a school. Like when I spoke to other children from other schools, they didn't know anything. I was like, how do you not know that? Don't you discuss this in school? No, we don't. We just do the syllabus. Well, we were like always about a year ahead of the syllabus. So when you're a year ahead of the syllabus, right? You're doing last year's syllabus, next year's syllabus this year, then you've got time to chat in class about interesting related topics. And so that's quite interesting, you know, that a lot of people have been schooled into thinking in a two-dimensional level, where I was taught in English that the English language is a plastic language and you can mold it. And as long as you follow the rules, you can do just about any bloody thing you can think of to the language. But there are rules, and you learn the rules of grammar, they apply. You apply the rules of grammar, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can make up new words as long as you follow the rules, and there are set rules. So as opposed to these are the words, memorize them, those are the words, right? So yeah, I think that this is a big problem, and it's emblematic of where we are at now as a society. And I think this whole story of disclosure fits very neatly into the pocket of this particular backdrop of this conversation that we're having about words, about the way that people think, because people want somebody on a podium to tell them yes or no. Yes, they exist. No, they don't exist. People don't want to take personal responsibility, because taking personal responsibility means exposing yourself as, do you believe or don't you believe? And then you can face ridicule from other people. Like, yeah, damn, of course I believe in extraterrestrials. Who doesn't? Like, dodo, you must be a dodo if you don't. However, are we being lied to and scammed left, right, and center by our governments? Is this being used as a tool? Just the same as like the climate is changing. I do believe that. There is a global shift of climate, but is that being used to brainwash us into believing that there are too many people? Yeah, totally. But is it in the way that they say it? No. But they have to take a piece of a truth, right, to build a lie, because it's the only lie that takes. So yeah, man, I think like that's like a really and how do you feel about the Steven Spielberg? I almost called him Steven Seagal. Like, whoa! The Steven Spielberg film that's coming out. I don't even know whether I'm going to bother to watch it. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I probably will watch it at some point. I'll probably watch it for research purposes. The trailer is quite interesting. Have you seen the trailer? You seen the trailer for it?
I'm not really watching the film. It's just research. No, I haven't seen the trailer. I must admit, I've managed to hide away from trailers. No,
this is the thing. Like any modern films is research. It's pattern recognition, because I do like it when there's films which have loads of symbolism and stuff, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, like the deeper truths behind it. You know, whether the producers or directors mean to put the stuff there doesn't matter. Just the stuff is there. So what does it say to me? Like, to me personally, what does it say to me or the collective? Like, you know, is there what's sort of you know, what's hiding in plain sight kind of thing. But the trailer for the film is quite interesting. I did watch it a while ago. I watched the first part of it earlier, but there's quite a lot to pick out. I'm not sure if we can play the trailer on here. Would that risk your video, you know?
Yeah, I think they might start giving us like flack, but I mean, everybody can go and watch the latest Spielberg trailer, because I'm sure it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people probably have seen it. I just try and avoid trailers. When they show me like there's a trailer, I'm like, whoa, get out of here. and I've
Yeah.
turned off all ads for YouTube. I paid a little bit of money. Just keep the ads away from me. I don't want them. And I'll find out from my circle once enough people have watched it. They'll say, "Oh, it was drudgery. It was boring." I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna dismember a boring film. I'm sorry. Like, there are lots of not boring films to dismember, but if
Yeah.
it's worth dismembering,
Yeah, well, it's certainly coming out on an interesting day. It's released on the 12th, on Friday, and that's when the Venus Jupiter conjunction is, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But it's certainly being released at an interesting time as well. There's lots of preparation for it, like loads of people on social media sharing stuff about off-world beings, like the Galactic Federation, like channelers, and they just seem to like be drip feeding people. You know, like we spoke earlier a few hours ago about like people like feeding from someone's hand. Like you need to give them just enough to kind of tame them. And it seems that's what they're trying to do. But with the word disclosure, what does disclosure mean? Because I think we should probably start there with words. Disclosure. If you split the word, it's dis, which means like away from, and closure. So it actually means the opposite of what people think it means. Disclosure doesn't mean revelations. It doesn't mean being revealed. It's actually more of a concealment because it's taking you away from closure. It's basically just a distraction. That's what it says to me. Disclosure is just a distraction. And I think that there've been many distractions this year. There's been here in the UK meningitis that went away. There was what else was there? There's been loads of stuff this year. Now there's Ebola, and it's like they're always trying to like put out this fear to distract people. And in regards to extraterrestrials, people probably think extraterrestrials are just like off planet, like from space. And I think that's what they're trying to program into people, that these beings will be from up above us because they're above us, they're better than us, they're more they're more advanced than us, which could be true. Perhaps they'll be more they may not be more spiritually advanced. They'll have better technology maybe, but perhaps they won't be better spiritually advanced than us. But extraterrestrial could be either like below the earth, in the earth. It could be like beyond the current known earth, actually here on this landmass, but perhaps in undiscovered lands beyond. Because as far as I'm concerned, this realm we're in now, we're in kind of a closed space. And whether it's ice wall or whatever, I do certainly think that there are more lands beyond, whether it's inside the earth, in the oceans, which there's 100% oceans inside the oceans. Like there's water all around us. There's water above us. There's water under us, but also there's water in the water. Water seems to be everywhere, and water's a portal. And I think that, and even ice is water, like the ice wall. There's water as a barrier, and it's like there's waters above, waters below, waters on this realm. And I think that this kind of ties into these three planets, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, all being in Cancer at the moment. Because if Cancer, of course, is water, it's a portal too. So there's some very interesting energies going on at the moment. So yeah, I mean, I think that in 2020 with what you call the Arm Prick Adventure, with that, CERN switched off their Hadron Collider, and then everyone went full crazy. And on June the 29th, I think, they're going to switch it off again. So I'm just sort of being prepared for people to start going full crazy again, because we had 5G 2020, and now we've got 6G. and people are starting to get COVID-like symptoms. People are starting to get like upset bellies, brain fog, stuff like that. So it's just they're amping up the frequency, and I'm just like keeping an eye out just to see, just watch people's behavior, because there's always a fear, a frequency, and a fable. Whenever there's a new frequency, there's a fear and a story behind it. 2001, the frequency was 3G. The fear was terrorism. The fable was it was the Middle East. So that's why we went over there. Every frequency from 1G up until 6G now, I can tell you what the fear and the frequency and the fable is, and that's your 666, which the World Economic Forum have in their logo, CERN have in their logo, Google Chrome have in their logo. So I do find that interesting, that there's always when there's it's energy harvesting. I think it's manipulation, it's programming, and then of course there's this film coming out which movies can kind of tap into our subconscious. They affect us on a subconscious level. So yeah, some interesting things going on at the moment.
You know, that is quite interesting. And I just want to confirm, were there two films make? Disclosure Day, second film this decade, same name. Was it the same name? Was it exactly the same film? Was it? There was another film, wasn't there?
Another film called Disclosure.
There was another film, maybe not called Disclosure Day. Second, similar. Oh, come on. You're opening all this nonsense for me. I'm sure there was another one like 2 years ago. Am I right or am I wrong? I seem to remember hearing about it. No, not the 2016. Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. Encounter was in 2021. Okay. Well, that was a little bit different. But anyway, just getting back to this film, I think like there's a lot we're probably going to be able to see in this if we get right down to it. Because there is a sense of sort of, this has been a big thing lately, right? And obviously it's all over our news with Trump trumpeting up how he's going to disclose, right? And you know, let's grab a couple of these images up. Let's just take a look at what they're showing us here. Why am I having so many challenges here with this technical thing? No, that was my screen resolution. Okay. So let's go. Let's do a bit of screen sharing. Let's share some screen action. So here's one of the covers, right? Let's see that's up on the screen. There it is. It should be coming up automatically. Which is, have you seen this one or have you seen the other ones?
I haven't seen that picture before.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
That bird, is that a mockingbird?
Please well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think it is.
Looks a little bit like you, though, doesn't it? Hey? Looks like you from the side almost. Your beak slightly different. Your beaks. Is it a parrot or a mockingbird?
So they're red in the film.
Oh, there are films in the actual. There are birds in the film.
Yeah, there's red birds in the film which go around the top of this little girl's head. Her wallpaper has blue butterflies, which is the I think it's the Project Monarch blue butterfly symbol, MK Ultra. There's stags in it as well, as there have been in a lot of movies like Leave the World Behind. There's like random stags. It's quite ominous. It's a bit weird. But yeah, there's red little birds. So I think they are. Sorry, I cut off then. I think they are mockingbirds or canaries. Oh, interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of. Oh, your mic's muted, Franklin.
So right at the front there, we see, they're hitting us with a mockingbird or a, and I think the reason they're called mockingbirds, like parrots, is they repeat, right? So a mockingbird is how do they mock you? Like you say hello, they say hello. You say you're a pretty boy, they say you're a pretty boy. Don't they mock you? Don't they? If you make a sound, won't they make that sound back at you? And they'll sort of mock you with your own sounds in a way. And I think that's got to do with crowd control. It's got to do with, or even a parrot, if it is a parrot, it's got to do with parroting. Like, so, I heard this and I'll repeat this.
The bird is a northern cardinal.
What is that? Is that a parrot?
Not too sure.
Northern cardinal. Oh, those are the birds in the film.
Oh, okay. So for many bird lovers, the sight of a cardinal holds a special meaning, sometimes evoking emotional or spiritual feelings. There we go. They're to evoke emotional or spiritual feelings. So this kind of ties into the whole kind of disclosure thing and the Galactic Federation and people coming to either save us or, Yeah,
we've got an eye, right? They're throwing the eye at us. The craft is an eye. That's sort of quite interesting, isn't it? This particular one, especially. Because that, I think, is also supposed to be a UFO, right? And so it's sort of showing us that the UFO is in our perception, right? Like, you're looking at an eye, but what is the eye seeing? The eye is seeing a UFO, but is the UFO really there, or is it just in the eye, right? Is it your imagination? I think they're telling us something here. Blue beam, something blue beamy. Like, literally, can you see the blue beam? Right? Like, literally, there's an eye inside a blue beam, and inside that eye, it's like got a mirage of a UFO, but it's not really there, right? It's just really the blue beam light that makes the UFO look like it's there, but it's all just the eye that you're really looking at. It's very clever, very powerful symbol, very powerful image, quite suggestive as well. That it's all in our mind's eye and that it's not really there. I think that's a really interesting point. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I do believe that there are extraterrestrials. I do believe that there are actual physical extraterrestrials with crafts. I've had enough experience in my life to know. But I don't think that they would necessarily be in league with our governments, right? That's what I think. There might be some dark posses that are in league with our government. I have yet to see a good government, right? And so if there were good beings out there, they would avoid our governments like the plague. If they are deceptive and nasty and like foul beings, then they might not want to avoid our governments, but then they would want to stay in the dark and in the secret because they're up to no good. So the chances of our governments having any involvement is like very, very slim to none, in my opinion. So I think like there's a quite an interesting perspective to look at when we sort of consider these things. And I think the fact that it's coming at a time when we've got our Venus and our Jupiter in the house of Cancer. So let's break down that astrology a little bit. And we were mentioning that the Mercury is going to open the heart for communication two ways. So you'll be able to be creative and communicate from your heart, but you'll also, what you hear will go straight to the heart, right? So you might not be so questioning. You might not be so rational. You might not be so critical, because Cancer is not critical. Cancer is just an emotional welling, right? So what that means then is that you've got this stream of communication that will go straight to the heart. You won't question it as much as you usually would. You would just take it into yourself, open the channels of communication to the maximum potential for emotional content. So it's a great time to be programmed, really a great time to be programmed. Then we've got Venus and we've got Jupiter in the house of Cancer, which means that we're at our most secure. Jupiter, I believe, is in its exaltation in Cancer. I believe it's exalted. So Jupiter brings out its most positive, powerful currents of goodwill, joviality, right? And positive abundance vibrations. And then we've got Venus there, adding to that harmony, beauty, abundance in its own way. These two amplify each other because they're working together. They're working on the same project, effectively. They're not contradicting each other. And they're in a conjunction. So this is like exponential, the potential, the vibrational potential, which means that human beings will be at their most secure. So we will be feeling completely happy and secure. And for example, like when I used to compete, right? When I used to compete, that was my fighting style. I used to move between polarities, right? This is exactly what they're doing with us. I would be going in a very like my opponent would get a bit scared because I'd be like a statue. Like a chameleon. just watching them, waiting for them. I'm waiting for them. And then I'd relax. I'd drop my guard. And they feel really secure now. They were like really wary of me. Now is their chance. Now. And I'd reel them in like that, right? I'd reel them in like now I'm really vulnerable. And that's when they come in, and that's when I'd catch them. That's because it's like a fly trap, Venus fly trap. So that was how I used to reel in my opponents, like fishing, in the ring, and play with them, make them feel nervous, make them scared. Now let them feel comfortable. They feel so much better now. Now, it's a good time to bang. I got you. But this is what they're doing with us, right? It's exactly what they're doing with us. They are playing us. They are preparing us with fear and anxiety one day. And then when it's our most peaceful, secure moments, that's when they brainwash us, right? And I bet you this brainwashing is going to be that these ETs are here to help us. Or is it a horror? What kind of a film? Do you know anything about it? Have you heard anybody that's seen it?
So I can tell by the trailer it's going to be one of these new like weird films which just has like an ominous tone all throughout it, like Leave the World Behind. There's been quite a lot of films released recently which are just, all I can describe them as just ominous. Like it's not horror, it's not anything, probably got a really weak plot. It's just there to program people, really. It's just flat. I'd say it's going to be quite a flat film of just constant like bam, and then like just boring like ominous tones. I can't really describe it. It wouldn't be a horror, can't be a thriller, no action, just ominous, I guess.
I noticed that the release date is the same for the USA and England. And that's strange because usually American films are released first in the US, or am I out of date? Are they all the same date these days?
I think that's probably true.
Because I know British films would usually first air in Britain, so that there's two red carpets. They don't normally want the red carpets to clash, do they? A London red carpet and a,
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they usually are on the same day, no, which is interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's why I thought maybe it had come out in the States last week, but it didn't. Interesting. It's like they really want this date to be central, don't they? And it's quite interesting because, like, okay, let's break this down, ladies and gentlemen. If you, what were you going to say something, by the way?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to just mention that Stanley Kubrick was supposed to make an AI movie in 1999, where lots of movies came out, like The Matrix, 13th Floor, and like a few other films similar. But yeah, he was making a film about AI, and then he died. I'm not sure if it was under suspicious circumstances or not, but Steven Spielberg took over his project and then released a film called AI, which would have been nowhere near as good as Kubrick's take on it. So I'm not sure if Kubrick was planning to put way too much kind of symbolism and hidden stuff inside that AI movie. But I do feel that Spielberg is definitely an insider. I've heard his name pop up in regards to Epstein, but apparently his name's not in the Epstein files. But I just think that he probably does have some ties. I'm just going to do a bit of research now. But it's just interesting with disclosure. Like, that people haven't had disclosure with the files. And now they're talking about these extraterrestrial files, like the X files. What about the Epstein files? This is why it's just a distraction. This is why it's just to distract us, and people are constantly looking up, looking out, rather than looking right here and seeing that we actually have unhuman beings amongst us called the Predator elite class. And you have people on the left, people on the right, people looking up, looking down, but people aren't really focusing on what is here already. And I think that people's memories, I don't think they're so good. I think that people need to be constantly reminded. Like, even with some people about COVID, they're like, "Oh yeah, that happened ages ago. That happened years ago." It's like, well, what do you know about it? What do you know about it? Because it's important that people are reminded of these events and stuff, because they seem to play out the same patterns, the same script. And I think that this kind of whole disclosure, Galactic Federation, aliens and stuff may well exist. Who's to say? But I just think they're major distractions. And we've kind of been pumped full of distractions since January, including the war in Iran as well, to kind of the energy crisis, to drain our energy. So we're hungry, like spiritually, psychically, and so that they can, pump us full of whatever, whatever the program is at the time, which seems like the program now is disclosure, aliens. Let's focus on that. Let's do that. And I don't want to go too kind of off topic because you're about to say something, but 6G is linked with holographic technology and smart dust. And 6G was supposed to be rolled out in 2028. And it seems that they're doing it sooner. They're rolling it out now because the timeline doesn't fit. So they're having to speed things up. The powers that be, the kind of the programmers or whoever. So I think it's interesting for sure how all of this stuff is being rolled out, like 6G, all this smart dust, just all of this crazy stuff that's going on in the world. I think last year was quite chilled, I think, other than if you live in Palestine. But this year we've had like Iran, we've had like hantavirus, like meningitis, Ebola. They're trying to roll out all of these things to kind of bring down our frequency. Or if you don't like the term higher or lower vibrations, just try to. What they're trying to do is, I think it's probably a better way than saying bring down our frequency, is they're trying to block us from our true authentic frequency. What is our core frequency? They're trying to block that. So I think that's what this film is about, all of this disclosure, because they've got to give people something. They might have like one UFO, one spaceship, which would probably be like military in the sky. People are, oh yeah, aliens. We knew it was aliens. So yeah. Sorry, Franklin, you were gonna say something?
Oh damn! I noticed my mic was on. I wonder if I accidentally tapped my keyboard by accident. I wasn't gonna say something. I was just adjusting my mic.
No, not just then. I mean, like a couple of minutes ago.
Oh yeah. There's no rush. I was keen on what you were saying. I think, like, just to respond to what you're saying, yeah, they definitely want to disconnect us. Because we're connected through these frequencies, through this field of consciousness, and they definitely want us to be isolated, divide and conquer. They don't want us to be in a synergetic field of union with each other, experiencing what's going on in real time. They want us to be disassociated, living in the future, living in the past of the way when times are better, or living in the future of like when the good times are going to be here. Like, don't worry, work your ass off. And when you're really, really old, you can retire. It's going to be so much fun. You can sit around in the old age home, which will prepare for you. There's a timer in the old age home, but don't worry. We're humane. We won't come and put you out of your misery. We'll let nature put you out of your misery. All these different bugs will find you in the old age home. Like the Omprick adventure, the old people, it was quite a powerful proverbial pruning of the tree. What a harsh concept to think of, huh? But they were pruning on that bush, weren't they? And a lot of prune sacrifices. So yeah, I thought to share here. So here we go.
Ooh.
Here is the new and improved Enneagram. I changed the colors.
I like it.
I made the colors correct. And I didn't like that the green one looked like an Enneagram, because technically there's only 2 Enneagrams, right? So you got the yellow, the blue, and the red triangles in the center, which make a 12-pointed star. And then you've only got 2 Enneagrams, the green one and the orange one. And I've color coded it specifically. So here we have these 3 different aspects. The center is not an Enneagram. The center are the 3 fundamental principles of alchemy, right? And the 3 mother letters and 3 particular tarot cards. And so this is rather quite important, because if we take a moment to take a little bit of a look-see at the Uxie-Buxie-Wuxie, we see number 3, as with all classical numerology, relates to Jupiter. And we see number 6, as with all classical numerology and astrology, relates to Venus. So we see this connection here between Venus and Jupiter, right? The artist and the optimist. It's not per se an Enneagram, but it's one of the 3 principles that becomes the Enneagram, because the Enneagram are 3 principles compounded to become 9. So what we can see here, if we look at it here carefully, here I've taken them apart, right? So there you got them all 3 at once, and here you've got them in 3 separate doses. So you can look at them at separate, see them in their own parts. So here we have what we would call the Ida spiral, and here we have the Pingala spiral, and here we have the masculine, and here we have the feminine. So the yang and the yin, right? The left and the right. In the middle, we've got these 3 principles. Now notice the numbers in the middle. I've explained it before, but now you can see it more easily. You see the yellow triangle is 369, which adds up to 18, which is 9. Then we've got the red triangle, which is 147, right? And that adds up to 12, which is 3. And then we've got the blue triangle, which is 852, which adds up to 15, which is 6. So we've got 369 in the yellow triangle, and then the yellow triangle is 9. The blue triangle is 6, and the red triangle is 3. So we've got 369 and 369 compounding. Now, what's interesting here is that the yellow triangle represents the element of air. the red triangle fire, the blue triangle water, right? These are the supernal mothers, right? They also relate to the astral and the etheric planes and the causal field as well. So that's quite important to recognize. So when we look at this, we see that the 6 and the 3 are connected. Jupiter and Venus are connected by this yellow triangle, which represents the Fool, right? And I've taken quite a lot of time to put this into perspective, because in the Kabbalah you have the 3 elements, which are the 3 supernal, the mother letters, they call it. And these letters were the 3 first hieroglyphs from which all the others arose. So we have the Fool, which is Aleph, which is the ox of heaven, right? We've got Maim, which is the element of water. It literally is the word water. And we've got Judgment, which is a tooth, which literally represents fire. It's got like 3 little prongs, the picture for it. So we can see how the element of air, which is the Fool, which is the card that has no number, is dancing between the 3 and the 6 and connecting the 3 to the 9 and the 6 to the 9. So Jupiter has a direct connection from the 9, and Venus has a direct connection from the 9 through this particular elemental focus. And that Fool represents on all 3 of those pathways, right? The same way as the Hangman represents all 3 pathways. The entire triangle is that system of 3 pathways. This is the sacred supernal, the mother letters. And so when we look at this, we can then sort of go, okay, so the Fool card is what connects the 3 to the 6. And with this in mind, like maybe I should pull up a Fool card. Probably not a bad idea. Right away. Because I think that this is relevant to this date, and it's relevant to this film, and it's relevant to exactly what we're seeing here, you know, in a fairly direct way. Why am I getting this? Images? It's just trying to like open up things for me to buy. It's very weird, isn't it? Okay. So my Google has gone crack. They cracked my Google. Oh, there we go. That's not a drawing. That's not a buying one. Wow. So they're really hitting us with ads these days. Much more intense, huh? Seems like it's the way of the world. So when I pull up that particular image here, you can get a fairly good look at it, right? So what we see here is he's journeying out. He's got his little stick over his shoulder, which represents his potential. Like think of it as a spine. Think of it as your wand, your power. He's got his little doggy, his little sidekick with him, which is his familiar. He's got the flower in his hand that represents the purity and the inspiration, and he's got everything he needs packed up in his little knapsack. But it's not
small. On the screen, Franklin.
It's not on the screen. I thought I pushed it on the screen. Thanks for telling me.
No worries.
Oh, I did push it on the screen, but it didn't go because StreamYard is sticky when it comes to pictures versus StreamYard bastards. So, yeah, sorry, once again, we can see the sun shining in the background. So the sun is radiating. There's this warmth of the sun. We can see the little sidekick, the dog, representing the sensitivity, but pure sensitivity. It's a white little dog. There's this element of faith. And so in a positive sense, this can represent that childlike quality, but in a negative context, that can represent being gullible. In a negative context, that can represent being a fool. And in the context that we say like someone's a fool, that they don't think. They just, you read a book, you believed what you read in the book, that's now the gospel truth, and now you're preaching. And then next month you read another book, and then that'll be a new. My ex-wife, I have to mention her a second. My ex-wife's mother was like that. She would be preaching the religion of Reiki, and then you see her in 6 months' time, and she's like, Reiki's, no. Now she's preaching the religion of this. And every 6 months or a year later, she'd have a different religion she'd be preaching. And it was quite funny to watch, devices not connected. Toby fell off. So I think like that's quite important for us to recognize just how this works. So that they are using a time that this tarot card is in play. This tarot card will be a card that is in the vibration of the time when there is this junction happening between Jupiter and Venus, which is the element of air will be at its strongest point, which means that this is now in conjunction. I want us to understand that it's working with the magician, right? Because Mercury is in the same house. And so Mercury carries a vibration of magic and being able to manipulate forces, subtle forces with one's will. So this is quite like a powerful symbol to be sort of looking at, especially during a time that we are observing this junction here, that we are observing this field of connection and interaction between the 3 and the 6 directly. And this sort of puts us into a position where we are now very highly susceptible. I think Shinobi has just arrived back in town.
Icon webcam disconnected themselves, so I had to leave and then come back. Should be all good now.
Weird, man. How did that happen? Are you using an app?
Yeah, no, I think I moved the cables because my laptop doesn't have a USB. It's got a it's only got USB-C, and my camera's got like a chunky USB. So I've got an adapter, and I think I knocked it or something.
No, this is a problem with StreamYard, by the way. It's really annoying. Like if you touch your computer and you move it, it disconnects mics and cameras and all sorts of nonsense. It's really annoying like that. I noticed that on the other platform that doesn't happen, right? Like what is it called? Riverside. Riverside seems to have a regulating software that it will reconnect it without you having to go off and come back.
Did you say did I hear you say that the full card, like air relating to, did you say Mercury? Is that energy like strong at the moment?
No, the Fool doesn't relate to Mercury. You could say that Mercury is related to magic, right? Mercury ruled magic. So when you think about the Houthi or Hermes, these were gods of magic. So magic carries a vibration of Mercury. So if you want to do magic, Mercury's presence is like a good boon. These two, Jupiter and Venus being aligned the way that they are, brings the Fool's energy into play. And the Fool is very faithful and trusting. So it's sort of like preparing the lamb for the slaughter, right? Where Mercury then being involved means that those that are casting the spells and the magic will be casting them with full coherency mentally, and they are more likely going to be able to produce a succinct illusion, because this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with illusion magic. They're not real magicians. They don't use real magic. They use illusion. And the illusion captures our consciousness and our minds and our attention. And that's how their witchcraft works, right?
Yeah.
They sculpt the idea in our minds and we power the spell. They don't even have the juice to power their own spells. They need us to do it for them. What kind of a lazy, good-for-nothing bunch are running this world? You know, when you put it into those contexts.
So it's interesting that judgment is related to fire, because like that's red. And then you can have, like, recently we've had in the UK lots of marches led by Tommy Robinson, and they've been flying the St. George Cross. Well, on the Judgment tarot card, you'll see the St. George cross on the trumpet. That's the frequency of judgment. And that kind of ties in with, I guess, if you want to say like red being right wing, so that would be like right. And then you have Trump as well, the trumpeter at the top, blowing the trumpet on the card. And then the Hanged Man relating to blue or like water, which you could say blue is like left wing. You know, these are polarities, right? I'm not saying that certain people are left wing or right wing. It's full circle. But if we want to look at the magnetic north and south or whatever, the right being fire, red, judgment, and then the left being the more water kind of Hanged Man. Very, very interesting because they both seem to be fools. And it's interesting that the fool there is the middle of the Enneagram is the pyramid, and at the top you have the 9, which is 9 the achiever. So it's like and 9 is the eye, the observer, like the central point. And because both of these sort of like energies are being played off. You could look at the people on the right as being very angry at the moment, and then I always view the people on the left as being like wet wipes, like very emotionally like deranged. They both emotionally deranged, right? But the left seem to be way more empathetic, but to their detriment. Like they're able to be, their emotions are able to played so like they're very emotional, and but the right wing seems to be angry like fire. So it's just interesting how this fits with the symbols of people waving the St. George cross, which is not the flag of my country. I'm English, Celtic. It's Albion, the white dragon. That's not our flag, and people need to realize that I'm not going to go into that flag now, but like the whole slaying of the dragon, that was to our detriment. It wasn't this it's basically the introduction of Christianity. So hence why people waving this flag, and the Christianity seems to have become quite right wing. Like they've managed to put people in a box, which is very interesting. And then they were very judgmental as well. People on the right, people waving this flag in regards to immigration, in regards to people's skin color, judging people by the way they look. And yeah, I just wanted to mention as well, with the Fool being related to air, and it being 0. Could that also be the ether as well, as in either, as in either this or that? The Fool is like kind of like the jester, of like the childlike wonder of like maybe this, maybe that. Could it be related to the aether? And also, I just wanted to say that the air is related to psyop as well, but it's spelled PSI, not PSY. Like when you're diving, when you're taking in air, it's measured with like PSI, just like pounds per square inch. So the psyops usually seek to kind of suck the air out of people. You become quite heavy, weighed down when there's psyops, because when you're heavy, carrying a lot of like baggage and stuff, you can be more easily led. If you're lighter, you can move around a bit better. If you have more air, if you're able to breathe, and the breath, of course, relating to the lungs, which is we're in Gemini season now as well, which relates to the nervous system too. So if you have more air, you're less nervous. So with these psyops, they suck the air out of people and make people quite kind of like nervous and unregulated.
Totally. In fact, I like that you use the word regulate, because that's really what the element of air does. It regulates between the extremes of fire and water, right? You got fire, you got water, and then you got air, and air stands between fire and water. And so, yeah, air is prana, is life force. And life force is where both ether and the astral come from. In fact, you could think of ether and astral as being like electrical and magnetism, if you want to. And then together they make up electromagnetism. But electromagnetism is an emanation of something of a higher frequency, which is life force, prana. And so the prana itself is the substance from whence both of these different frequencies arise. And the prana is really essentially consciousness. So when we're talking about the element of air, we're really talking about like where consciousness comes from, because obviously the prana and the etheric and the astral are also fields of the same consciousness, just particular frequencies bound to each other. And so, yeah, that's quite interesting what you say about the fool and air being sort of rather fundamental, because it's relating to the heart chakra. So you can see how they're going straight for the heart. The fact that this film's coming out at a time where we, A, are our most secure, B, our Jupiter and Venus are giving us all this secure, you're safe, everything's fine, there's nothing to worry about, feel good. It's the hearth, it's the home. Mercury's there. So there's like this good feelings, the emotions, good feelings with the communication. Your heart's open because you're feeling creative, you're feeling positive. That's the time when you are most susceptible to programming, believe it or not. Well, I don't know when you're most susceptible. Yeah, I think that's the time when you're most susceptible to being programmed. And then when you're in a state of fear, you're most susceptible to having the programming triggered. Right? And so that's quite an interesting dichotomy. And you mentioned, Robinson, right? That freak show on wheels. That dude's pushing 100% fear. And you're right about judgment. I do relate him to the sphere of judgment totally. He's like that dude is seconds away from being a racist, right? Like, it's okay to be a racist when you're that guy. But if anybody else tries it, you get like cancel culture. But that guy doesn't get canceled. He gets celebrated for his racism. Very weird. And the hangman, another element of the hangman, which is quite useful to consider, is that it represents sacrifice, right? And so this makes us think once again about the Armpit Convention. What do they tell us? You will own nothing, right? But you will be happy. So what does that mean? It means that you'll make a great sacrifice, but you'll be happy to have been able to make that great sacrifice. Everything you own. Thank you. Ching. So on the one hand, they want us to make a huge sacrifice, right? The other hand, they want us to be extremely judgmental. And then in the middle here, they're hitting us with these wonderful films that are supposed to take up the space in the middle, where we would be possibly getting time to consider our options with regards to like where we want to go, what we want to do. It just seems to me that they're cajoling us into like a fishnet, and they're fishing for us. And yeah, man, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if the following week we're going to hear from Trump about extraterrestrials. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are you expecting?
No idea, to be honest with you. I'm just expecting people to I don't know, man. Like, because you look at, there's like 3 different kinds of people. You have woke, and then you have people who are awake, and then you have people who are aware. The aware is just being aware of the this or the that. The woke is that kind of woke mentality, and then you have the people who are awake, or who say they're awake, who are still actually very much asleep and still in a slumber. But that's the arrogance of thinking that they're awake. It's like the oh yeah, I'm enlightened, rather than seeking enlightenment, rather than being on the journey. You've already got there. Like, there's been better than other people, and then there you have the judgment for those who aren't awake. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't get the COVID vaccine, I'm so awake. It's like, come on, mate, come on. Like, oh yeah, I'm going on a Tommy Robinson march, I didn't get the COVID vax. I'm like, there's levels, and then there's people still falling into traps. So what I think happening is that, okay, what I can see happening on our timeline is that the way we've been prepped this year with Exercise Pegasus, and all the levels of that, to do with technology, to do with like the being able to travel between worlds and just kind of being stuck in reality. What I mean by that is that there was Exercise Pegasus, which we've spoken about before, which was to do with a meningitis outbreak, which would mainly be pushed for kids and children. They tried pushing that. That was a flop. But I think that anytime it's a flop, they've still managed to get some stuff through. For example, last year we had an emergency alert here in the UK and in America. Both countries had an emergency alert on their phone. And it wasn't just about an alert, it was about to see how these signals spread, how the signal spreads, and to see how, when you have this emergency alert, to see how it triggers people's fear. They were collecting that data, and of course, Pegasus was as a Israeli startup as well, to do with spyware. So I think that it's all to do with hacking our system. And then we have the energy crisis, which was way beyond just petrol or fuel. It was actually about how to deplete our collective energy, how to drain our car or our vital essence or life force. And what I see happening is, because they pushed that, then there was hantavirus, and then there was that, now there's Ebola, and in next week there will be something else. But because we have the internet, people are very quick to decode stuff and share stuff. We've had in the UK last week, I saw in the newspaper, front page of the newspaper, saying that there might be major train disruptions because of solar weather. So I do think that if there is going to be Operation Project Bluebeam, a giant space show, this they're going to have to amp 6G up more. So first off, people are going to start getting unwell, and that's going to be due to the frequencies. When we start having those similar symptoms of brain fog, like stomach problems and stuff that we saw with COVID, like to the gut, lots of people have been having that already that I've come across. Like the gut is the first thing, and I think that that's people tapping into, they're having a gut feeling that something's not quite right, so it's affected their stomachs. But I think as they start amping it up, I think the internet might go, and I don't want this to I know everyone's good here, I don't want this to cause fear or anything, but I think that we rely on the internet too much for information, and I think that some of us are already well equipped with the tools that we need to dissect and decode what's going on. But when they start ramping up this stuff, I don't think with this Project Bluebeam that we'll have the internet. We won't have the internet. There'll be blackouts, like in Leave the World Behind. There was a blackout. I think that there will be a blackout, and they'll say, "Oh, it's aliens, it's UFOs." There'll be a signal coming out first. We won't have the internet as it is, because I think this has been a major disruptor to their agenda, because people were so quick to pick up on things. And what I do see happening is that if there's like a alien invasion, which Reagan said would bring the whole world together, well, it's like one world government, maybe, right? I think that the Elon Musk and like Palantir and stuff will be seen as the saviors. We'll have like AI versus aliens, and perhaps if we do have visitors from, I think the film, oh, was it Black Panther? The second Black Panther showed this, like beings coming from under the earth, from under the water. I think that perhaps they might come from in the water and not actually from the waters above, maybe both. And I think that maybe they won't be hostile. I think that maybe they won't be hostile if there is, or perhaps they're from extraterrestrials, like beyond the known Earth, beyond the ice wall, and we've been in an enclosed space because it's easier to program less people. And perhaps we will have beings like visit us, but then we'll have military aircrafts bombing countries which aren't going along with the current agenda. And I can't say which countries they are, because who knows? But this is a systematic zoo. We've been systematically trained like animals, segregated, divided into different countries, different races and stuff. And there's so much separation that they need to keep separating us. Because if we all remembered that we're all team human, we're all humanity, we're all of the earth, we're not from fucking different star systems, whatever. We're of the earth. This is our home planet. There's a lot of escapism with, oh, just the Galactic Federation, the angels will sort everything out. Bullshit. We're the ones that can see through the illusion and create anything here. But unfortunately, when we're stuck, when we're blocked from our true frequency, manifesting or creation can be quite hard. It can be quite stagnant. This is why they've kind of blocked the flow. They've blocked the flow of our chi, of our energy, of tapping into the ether. And what I see happening is that there may be, whether it's military aircraft or whether it's aliens, there's definitely going to be some kind of military operation. And then Elon Musk is going to be seen as the savior archetype, I think. Because there's no way people are going to accept 15-minute cities, CBDC, digital IDs. There's no way anyone's going to accept that. So I think that the Deus ex machina, the God in the machine, when they showed plays to explain everything, there would be like I can't remember what it is exactly, but basically it's the God in the machine. The Deus ex machina is going to be the last card that they have after viruses, after whatever. They're gonna play that card, and I think that the only way people will accept digital IDs. Do you know why I'm saying this? Is because we went to London a few months ago, maybe it's a bit longer. They had this orb that scans your iris. And it's something to do with WorldCoin or whatever. Basically, you get 25 quid to give away all your biometric data. And the reason for it is so that they can tell whether you're human or not. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? You're going to scan my eye to see if I'm a human? Are you saying that there are people who aren't humans? Okay. What I see happening is they're going to have to... there are unhuman beings amongst us in human flesh. Inside, I'm reading a book at the moment, and there is like fire demons that leak into the world from Muspelheim, I think, into people, and these people start wars and stuff like that. And I can see that that's kind of happening. People have been taken over, but what I can see happening is that they're going to say that there's beings amongst us who aren't human, and that you basically need to have this digital ID to prove you're human. It's for your own safety. And I can see people going along with that, especially people on the right, especially followers of Tommy Robinson, who's an IDF agent. That's where a lot of this tech is made, is in Israel. Hence why he's one of their foot soldiers, as is Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has said that Tommy Robinson should be Prime Minister of the UK. What the fuck? Tommy Robinson being a prime minister? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? So this is where we're heading with these sort of people being pushed, and like Palantir having way too much power. Basically, people aren't going to accept this. There's gonna need to be an enemy and the savior, and this is the Christ and the Antichrist. The Antichrist posing as the Christ, the Antichrist, Satan, whatever, the adversary, disguised as the savior. And who is it? Peter Thiel, anagram of reptile, not his real name. He's chosen to have that name because it means reptile. And he did a private conference recently about what is the Antichrist. So, mate, the fucking Antichrist is you, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Tommy Robinson, Tony Blair, all these people who are up on these positions of power. They're all the Antichrist. It's an energy. But what I see happening, long rant, so apologies for that basically this AI alien disclosure and stuff, we're gonna have aliens here and we're gonna have AI here. And then the AI is going to be the savior. And people are actually going to want to have digital IDs. People are going to want that. And whether they want it or not, there's going to be enough people who do want it. And it's odd to me that the so-called like freedom marches and stuff like that in the UK, led by Tommy Robinson, the ones casting judgment on others, which in turn puts themselves in chains, their minds in chains, that they're going to be the ones who are probably okay with this digital ID, this digital system. So yeah, that's what I reckon is going to happen. They're prepping us for aliens so that they can further their AI agenda. And aliens sounds a lot like AI lens. I think that their aliens are going to be AI. It's going to be holographic. It's going to be military aircraft. It's going to be an excuse for them to get rid of any people or countries or stuff that they don't like. Maybe if the power goes, no internet, they can bring in their CBDCs. On the plus side, everyone's debt will be wiped, which will be good. There's always a positive and a negative, but who knows? It's all speculation. I'm just going on like pattern recognition so far. So
Yeah. Musk, God, he's funny. It's really funny. I mean, it's not funny that people like him have got such a huge platform. That's not actually really funny when you think about it, right? It's like there's something quite dangerous about putting like a complete and utter a narcissist, right? Like there's something wrong with this dude, right? You can see it when you look at his face. You can see it. Like it's and I don't want to be mean, to people that are born a bit different, but like there's definitely something with this guy that's not quite right. And I just get the impression as we're looking at this sort of situation here, that it seems to me that we've got this dynamic that you've been referring to rather quite intensely, and we've got this madness being pushed, absolute insanity, right? Like the idea that like men can compete against women in the Olympics. They finally have done away with that one, right? But you can see how that was just a social test to see like how far can we push them. Can we put a man in women's clothes at the Olympics competing against women? Like, can you imagine them sitting down having this meeting and going, I don't know. That's the stretch. I reckon we can do it. They're dumb enough. I reckon we can make them demand. We can make them demand the rights of that man to compete against the woman in the Olympics. And then we'll push it until like a woman gets hurt. She was competing against a man, And then it's like, oh, no, okay, no, because it was a bad idea. And then they'll realize it was a bad idea. And then they will rectify the idea. They'll start saying, no, it's not okay. We'll get them to say it. So it's like they're playing us, from one pole to another between these poles of polarity. And they're definitely, using these triggers. And one of the things, like, I think that we can learn a lot from is these cosmic cycles, right? Like, why are they doing this? What is this all about? The cosmic cycles, and I was watching a little thing on a Sumerian tablet a while ago, and I sort of mentioned it, but I think it's important. It seems that there are messages from the past that speak about cosmic cycles, and we see the same thing written down by the Mayans, right? We see the same things written down by many people, and I think that we were forced to take a lot of these sort of dates that they fed us, 2012, to heart, right? Even though they weren't really, right? I mean, what was 2012 really, if you think about it? Let's go and take a look. And I guess we're going to go, when was AI first used? Date. When was AI first used? Okay. So are you ready for it? They had us talking nonsense about 2012, the Mayan prophecies. 2012 was when they relaunched the AI.
Relaunched it?
Well, it was around in the 50s.
Yeah.
It was around in the 50s, dude, but it was military tech. And then they made it for us, the consumer. And I think 2012, we were all being primed for this. This is the spiritual awakening. This is the time when, like, can you imagine all of those? What do you even call those people? What do we call them? The ones that keep praying for UFOs to come and fetch them and save them and take them back to their own planet because they're not from planet Earth. Those ones. What do we call them?
Lost.
Well, what do they call themselves? They call themselves the Ishtar Command crew. Yeah, that's what they call themselves.
Really? I've never heard that.
The Ishtar Command is that's like the headquarters of that whole movement, right?
The Ishtar Command, as in Ishtar.
Yes. Yeah, Ishtar Command. Right. Let's see. Ishtar Command. I'm sure that's what they call themselves. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this. It's always good for a giggle. It's always good for a good old-fashioned giggle. Yeah, some people can have their feelings hurt, like if they come and watch a show, like, because we're gonna, like, this thing needs a new hole. We'll give it a new hole. So, Ishtar Command for Destiny 2. Ishtar Command. Hold on, it's become a game. It's an inventory. Ishtar Command. Oh, that's Commander. Can't keep up with this little guy. He's all over me. He's so cute. So the Ishtar Command and extraterrestrials. Okay, maybe it's better if I let you go on the floor. Oh, Ashtar Command. Okay, so they call them Ashtar Command. So this is these UFO religions. I hope I'm on the screen. I hope you guys can see this. Yeah, I am. Yeah, good. So it's I said Ishtar Command. My mistake. It's Ashtar Command. It's been like a decade since I've giggled at this stuff. Often called the Ashtar Galactic Command, is a prominent concept in UFO religions. You notice that, like the UFO religions, this New Age spirituality. contactee. There's a lot of contactee subcultures, and it's believed to be an extraterrestrial and interdimensional fleet of higher consciousness beings dedicated to spiritually guiding humanity and protecting the Earth. So
hang on,
there
it was introduced in the 1950s. When did you say AI started?
AI was being used in the 50s for military only. So it wasn't like but that was when it was being used for military. Post Second World War. That's when the patents exist for AI. But then it was relaunched in 2012. And you had all these Ashtar Command people getting the whole New Age community all fired up that there was going to be a big rescue on Earth. And like a lot of people were going to be rescued. They were going to be taken away from this horrible planet. All these horrible people here. They were going to be taken away to the most perfect planets in the universe, where it was just better than here. We were going to have waiters, extraterrestrial waiters, and extraterrestrials like serving us hand and foot, looking after us. We were going to live on feathered beds with feathers tickling us and people fanning us down, serving us pina coladas like while we're sitting on deck chairs. That was basically the theme, and life was just going to get so sweet. But anyway, how did I get to Ashtar Command? It is a giggle though. This is what they call their HQ, these New Ages. And so yeah, this is what we're talking about. So you've got Steven Spielberg coming back, playing into these people's hands, revitalizing this movement. So this is the Galactic Federation, right? Is this connected? I think the Galactic Federation is an Ashtar Command is ruling the Galactic Federation. Let's see what they say. Is widely considered the UFO subcultures under the broader umbrella of Galactic Federation of Light. So yeah, the Ashtar Command are the rulers of this big federation, basically. And you're going to see this religion being revitalized, right? What's going to be happening is there's going to be like people praying to their UFO deities again, right? And calling them so that they can be saved, because we need to be saved from our own planet, right? Because that's what you do, right? When the burglars come to your house, what do? You get rescued and taken away from your home. Is that what you do? Or do you arm yourself? This is the difference of mentality we're dealing with here. And I think like this is a turning point for us as well, that we're reaching the point where they're actually disclosing to us about the extraterrestrials. Now, there is a real connection with extraterrestrials and technology. Hitler, for example, their crew used crystal balls to get technology. So they didn't just build the nuclear weaponry and all those weapons on their own. They got help from extra-dimensional extraterrestrial beings in order to build the technology that we today have as a legacy, which is an interesting concept. And those beings sent the SS on a journey. The reason why they were in Tibet, right? You know the story of the SS in the Tibet, yeah?
Sort of.
What was his name? What was the name of the SS Nazi that was in Tibet before the fall of the 13th Dalai Lama? What was his name? Hopefully we can get his name. Get some specific details. So let's get it back up here. Let's get it back on the screen. Remember, we did the show on the Dalai Lama, and I was mentioning it a bit, but I don't think we did this. So, what have we got here? The German SS expedition that explored Tibet under leadership of Ernst Schaefer, right, did not arrive until 1938. Because this mission occurred after his death, no SS members were in Tibet before the death of the 13th Dalai Lama. I'm sure there was one person that was there beforehand, though. I think that was the second time. I think he had been there previously. How many times? When did... well, we should actually Google and see when he first went there. An Austrian mountaineer and SS sergeant who famously escaped British international internment in India and arrived in Tibet in 1944. He became a tutor and a close friend of the young 14th Dalai Lama, right? Remember we were talking about this? That the Dalai Lama was schooled by the Nazis. That's how in order to become a Nazi, you need to be taught by the Nazis to become a good Nazi, right? I mean, if you want to do it properly. Otherwise, you're just a fake and a fraud. So we know the dude's authentic. There's nothing fake and fraud about the Dalai Lama. He was taught by the McCoy Nazis how to be a Nazi. This is how he learned. He refined his skills and he turned Tibet into, the next Reich. So, but anyway, 1938 is the official expedition that they were there, and they were looking for technology, right? They were looking, there was a huge expedition that was led there, and they were there looking for technology. And so that's quite an interesting concept as well when you think about it, that the Nazis were sent to Tibet because they had been informed of ancient technology that can be found. And so they were exploring Tibet and the Himalayas of India, and they were exploring, trying to find ancient remnants of technology because there were ways to find technology, and they had been told by these beings to go to certain places, right? And these beings had their administrators there working in Tibet. What a thought, right? Maybe a possessed lama, right? This is what we're talking about, essentially. So it's quite interesting when we start to look at how the story of Siddhartha, which is the Vedic version of it, is related to the discovery of or the expeditions of Hitler to both the North and South Poles, because this was all a connected series of events, right? And they wanted to get the technology, and the technology is hidden under ice. Some of it's in Tibet, some of it's in the North Pole, some of it's South Pole. Anyway, we know that they went to these places. The legend has it that they were on the North Pole, but I wonder, right? I wonder where. To be honest, what are your thoughts about extra-dimensional beings communicating with humans to give them technology? And how when we talk about AI, could that 2012 being a date that those beings were able to reconnect with us, and they reconnected with the wrong ones, and they were bad beings, and they were trading technology and helping us to upgrade our technology? Because it seems coincidence that all of a sudden the AI is launched back onto the open market.
Yeah, 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, apparently. And it's interesting that a clock has 12 numbers before it goes back to 1. What I've heard, Ez?
I know, Kelly. I've got to go. Really.
Okay. Sorry, there's lots of noise. What I've heard is that oh, sorry, I can't. Are you all right to take over for a second? Because I can't actually hear anything because as he's making loads of noise. Should we go on?
Okay, yeah, cool, brother. Yeah, so I'm sure he'll be back in a couple of minutes. Just hit the. Oh, are you back? Are you good?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just I got really distracted there because there was loads of noise. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just quite sensitive. It's like when I'm thinking about stuff and I hear some noise, I just get blown off course. But yeah, 2012 was supposed to be the end of the Mayan calendar, and apparently that was when there was supposed to be some kind of like major shift. I think it relates to their looking glass technology as well, and that 2012 wasn't the end of the world or the end of the calendar, but it was to do with like a renewal or something, or a major shift. And with looking glass technology, well, using AI or an algorithm, or whether it's an ancient tech, I don't know. But basically, they're able to see into loads of different futures, but the same thing always happens. And that same thing is that humanity wakes up, humanity becomes aware, and humanity ascends and rises up and comes together. This is why there's been so much division between peoples. So I think that I can't actually remember what you asked, so I got a bit distracted. Did you say what I think 2012 was about? What was the question? Sorry.
If memory serves, I think what we were talking about is basically how interesting it is that the technology of AI was implemented at that exact time that the so-called Mayan end of the Mayan calendar is, and we don't really know. We've got to take their word for that was the date, right? Because we don't really know. But it's just a coincidence, or it's interesting that there would have possibly been beings that were supposed to be able to reconnect with us at that time. And maybe they were reconnecting with us, but maybe they were reconnecting with like black ops projects of the government, and they were siphoning information. And these beings were maybe saying to him, listen, if you really want to control your population, you've got the technology already. You developed it in the 50s. All you got to do is focus that AI system into the web. And that will give you total control of the planet. And we will be able to help you if you do that. If you implement that AI technology, we'll be able to help you do the rest from our side. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I remember what I was going to say, that I think the what's it called, the Mandela effect, that started, or like the first one or whatever, was in 2011, if memory serves me correctly. I think it was 2011. And was it 2011? Because it relates to CERN as well, because CERN is involved in all of this. Because
I remember us having conversations about it. I think it was 1991, but it was being discussed in 2011. People were noticed. I think 2011 was when they started discussing the Mandela effect, but they had to wait until 2011, right? Because people's memories are fallible, right? And I mean, I've got an extensive long-term memory. Like, my long-term memory is really extensive. So I remember the conversations that I was having when we were told that Mandela wasn't alive, and many of us were doubting it. We were saying, I don't believe that he's, although it makes sense that the government would have assassinated him while he was in prison. But then some months later, wasn't much later, it was like, felt like a few months later, they announced that he wasn't. First they said he wasn't alive, and then they said he was alive. So me being a South African in South Africa, I remember two different headlines, and that the one happened first and that the other one happened later. According to the rest of the world, there was only one headline. two different headlines in two different parallel universes. But I remember being in one universe and experiencing both headlines, and that the first headline was propaganda created by the Nationalist Party to try and prevent the ANC from taking over in South Africa. And it was pretty much, we all knew that. So, you know, and I've pointed this out to people, and they still say, yeah, but the Mandela effect is still real. I'm like, well, if it's called the Mandela effect based upon Mandela, right? And I can tell you now for a fact that there were literally 2 announcements made. And a lot of us didn't believe the first announcement, right? But it was like, I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s that this was a discussion that we were having back home. So a lot of South Africans should remember that. But a lot don't seem to pay attention to it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I
But,
always thought it was called the Mandela effect.
No, it's Mandela.
Yes, but mandala is a complex circular geometric design that symbolizes universe, wholeness, and connection. And what is what's his name? I always get it mixed up.
Mandela.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela.
Whether it's Nelson Mandela or whether it is the Mandala effect, it's his people's names seem to fit like so well, and his name fits with this phenomenon. I cannot say it right. You know what I mean? This whole thing of like this kind of geometric shape of reality that people can't really agree on is a mandala, right? So I find that so interesting that that's his name and that's why it's called that. But if we change the spelling, it's a mandala. And so it couldn't even be called the Mandala effect, you know, because that's how we see symbols and reality and our connection and wholeness. Because I think that it's kind of been like with the algorithm, people's perception of reality has been like more and more and more divided. So we can't agree on what's what, because the algorithm is different for different people, even if they're looking at the same thing or whatever. So I think if we were all able to agree on agree on reality, I think we'd be able to we'd be more connected, I think. And I think that whatever's happened, it's kind of divides us further. So we can't agree on reality. It's like, are they false memories? Did it happen? Did it not? Is it both? Is it different realities like overlapping? Like, is there like a time lapse, which relates to like synchronicities as well and syncing? You know, to do with time, and that like the parallel realities aren't in sync. There's some kind of overlap. I find the whole thing very, very interesting with the Mandela effect, the different things that people notice and spot, and our perception of reality as well, and how we kind of can't agree on, you know, what is real and what's not. Yeah. But I think linking this back to what we were talking about today, with like portals and stuff, CERN switching off their collider at the end of June the 29th, which is interesting because they've said before that they might open up like black holes, like really, really small ones, but they don't know what will come in and what will go out. And I've spoken to somebody before about this at like a science fair in my town, and they were like, "Oh yeah, but if there were black holes, they'd just be really, really small." I was like, "Doesn't matter if they're really small." Isn't that like concerning? And And then also them saying like, we don't know what will come in and what will go out. It's like, yeah, you don't, but there are people, I bet, that do know what will come in and what will go out, right?
I think that's an interesting point. You know, the CERN is also synchronizing. Isn't it interesting how everything seems to synchronize? They don't just do one thing, they do it all at once. And they do it at certain points. Almost like it's a handing over of the baton, right? And they've been doing whatever they need to do with CERN. Now they take a break from doing what they were doing at CERN. So what's CERN going to be getting used for while they're taking a break? You know? That's quite interesting. And how often has CERN been on? Here's a thought. Do you think CERN could be related to subquantum computing? Okay.
What is subquantum computing?
Okay, so they've got quantum computers. Yeah. CERN has got some of the most complex, and I'll explain to you why. Like, let me get this here. Put that on the screen. So, what is a quantum computer? I suppose it's probably a good idea for me to get that on the line here, right? Quantum computer. Yeah, man, it's not even existing. You know, let's get the quantum computer. So, okay, I hope you can see it on the screen. So, quantum computing, right, manipulate mathematical states of subatomic particles. Isn't that quite a heavy thing to think about? Their immense power stems from working across abstract mathematical dimensions rather than standard physical space, utilizing superposition and quantum entanglement. How's that for something to digest? So they have these computers, like, okay, so the computer that I'm speaking to you on and you're speaking to me on, right? What it's got is it's got like little turning pieces in it, right? Spinning pieces, spinning really, really fast, spinning at to be specific, the CPU is spinning at gigahertz, right? And the RAM is spinning at megahertz. And the megahertz of the RAM would be like, no, the RAM is spinning at, yeah, I think it's megahertz. And the gigahertz is your CPU, which is spinning so fast that it's got like a little laser that's burning onto a crystal. It's got this little crystal embedded within the chip, right? And it's spinning really, really, really fast, and it's writing information using the crystal as a translation point. This is the way I understand it, rudimentary. I'm not a computer engineer. I don't build these things. But it's like little mechanical parts that are spinning, and the information is being read, right? And burnt on to the hard drive itself. Literally laser burnt onto it. So it's onto solid pieces. And using, nanotechnology, gold and crystal, basically, And now the quantum computers, they don't have moving pieces. They've got fields. They've got spinning fields that interact with other spinning fields that do quantum processing in these spinning fields. And so they're not really on our physical dimensional plane exactly, because they're using subquantum particles to carry information. How's this for a head trip? So now we look at what CERN is. Right. Now, the thing about the quantum computers is that it takes a lot of cooling, right? It takes some cooling to keep them cool. And then we look at, so basically, and just to finish that off, whether these abstract dimensions imply the existence of literal extra-dimensional parallel universes remains a subject of intense physics debate. So they are using subquantum space to do calculations of math outside of this physical reality, possibly in parallel universe spaces or between the membranes of universes. It's such a head trip. Now they've got like, you know, installations like CERN. And when you look at CERN, that's why I opened this Google tab, right? Operates some of the most complex cooling and cryogenic systems in the world, right? Required to keep accelerator components near to absolute zero to prevent delicate particle detectors from overheating. Okay. Right. Now, quantum computers need to be near to absolute zero. I think they need to because they're using superconductors, as far as I know. I mean, once again, so yes, most quantum computers require environments cooled to a tiny fraction degree above absolute zero. Right? So they need that cold because it preserves the superposition. Right? The qubits can hold multiple states simultaneously, but the states easily destroyed by outside forces like heat or electrical noise. And so in order to minimize errors, a low temperature environment limits interactions with the outside world, drastically reducing the errors in the quantum calculation. And like I said, superconducting masses, many common quantum architectures like those from IBM Quantum or Google Quantum rely on superconducting materials that only lose their electrical resistance and exhibit quantum properties at these deep cryogenic temperatures. Now, I do believe that Google's quantum computer failed a while away, didn't it? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear that. I did hear, I'm not sure whether it was Google, but their software, whether it's AI or computer, started creating its own language and started communicating with itself, and they had to shut it down.
Well, rumors that Google, okay, here we go. Rumors that Google shut down its newest quantum chip, Willow, due to anomalous, mysterious data are entirely false. This is the official story. These claims stem from viral clickbait videos and social media. Who knows? So the Willow processor is the Google state-of-the-art quantum chip, which features improved error correction as the system scales. There is no evidence of a shutdown. Now, I remember seeing an article about this, and it wasn't some clickbait article. It was in like a scientific forum, man. Anyway, because the computer scientists were discussing it. So who knows whether Google had to turn off their quantum computer? I don't know, but it's really, really interesting. And these quantum computers, so now I'm getting back to CERN. Sorry, I've taken you guys on a little bit of an adventure here. So if CERN is one massive, gigantic quantum computer, right? And they have the cooling infrastructure for a quantum computer to be operating on CERN. They haven't told us that CERN is a quantum computer. Let's see what they say. It's worth checking out. Is CERN running a quantum computer? I imagine there might be. Okay, so the official story is that CERN does not run its own physical quantum computer on site, but they are actively researching and developing quantum computing capabilities. Are you with me? So suddenly the whole idea of CERN makes a lot more sense, right? They want to develop bigger and better quantum computers. So CERN is like a prototype testing site for quantum computing. That makes a lot of sense. And so the evidence here is that they are actively researching and developing quantum computing capabilities. So can I ask you a question? How do you, and I'm going to read this again, how does one actively research developing quantum computing capabilities without a quantum computer? I'd love for you to try and answer that for me.
Yeah, interesting.
But according to AI, in the same breath, they don't have one, right? They do not run its own physical quantum computer. Isn't that a clever answer, right? Did I ask whether CERN has its own quantum computer, or did I ask whether it was running one? Let's try to change the term. That is not its own computer.
It says that they run their quantum computing initiatives, research, and algorithms by accessing systems remotely via the cloud.
But quantum computing only exists in a cloud. Are you with where I'm going with this? Like quantum computing, they need to have hardware to set it up, right? But once it's running, it's literally running in an electromagnetic cloud, right? Okay. There's my boy. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation to be had over CERN. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know the truth, but I question. But these quantum computers, so let's deep dive into this, right? So quantum computers are able to operate outside of matter. Can they rewrite matter? What do you think?
Rewrite matter. That's interesting.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, they maybe in this sense, but I think with smart dust, which is like 2D atoms which are programmable, like there's the material aspect of, yes, they can program matter by dropping smart dust, which has these like I think it's like aluminium a shell. So basically they can drop it and it can go into people, into stuff, and it's this smart dust is what's the word? It's basically brought online via ultrasound. 5G and 6G is ultrasound, and this smart dust is powered by ambient light. And I've checked, and our aura is ambient light, like our energy we give off, our etheric field is ambient light. So it's like we're going to be powering this realm that they're trying to create. Like you can look at it as like a false layer of reality being the metaverse, but apparently the metaverse lost like 80 million or 80 billion pounds. And I just have this nagging feeling that that money wasn't lost. That the metaverse, this kind of like digital programmable reality on a computer, isn't about a reality being on a computer. It's about this reality and turning this reality into a computer rather than the other way. So rather than turning this reality into a digital realm, they're turning rather than it being all on the computer, like with crap graphics, like metaverse, you can buy this place, that place. It's that money wasn't lost. I think that the metaverse is actually becoming the megaverse, and that they're trying to basically turn this reality into a programmable realm with these 2D atoms which they can remotely control. So that kind of maybe ties into the quantum computing, but people can go look that up. 6G, smart dust, holograms, Operation Bluebeam is tied into this holographic technology, which is smart dust and 6G as well. And that smart dust basically is I can't remember the terminology, but it can be dormant and then it can be triggered by ultrasound, which is frequencies, which is 6G, and then it's powered by ambient light. People can look this up and check this out. And I think all of this has to do with LED lighting as well, because LED lighting is such a fast flicker rate that it messes with how we interface with the organic material realm, matter, the wave, the breath all around us. This flashing light really messes with our eyes and how we create reality, our manifestation. And also at the same time, this LED lighting, which has been introduced, is very bright. It's really, really bright because opposed to like this kind of incandescent orange light, which is quite warm, it's more of this cold energy. And this technology seems to want it to be cold, you know, hence why blocking out the sun as well. That's going to make things colder. They're obsessed with making things colder, like, which is related to fear as well. So for me, I think some will agree that there are people or beings that want to be the kings of hell, and they want to turn this realm into hell. And hell isn't an inferno, it's an inverno. Hell was known as winter to some, and hell is cold. This coldness is a feeling of it being cold, like ice, but also at the same time, it's separation, it's isolation, disconnection. And this is what this AI, this is what all these technocrats, this scientism, this is what they want. They want isolation, self-isolating. They want us to be disconnected from each other, from ourselves, from I don't want to say our higher self, I want to say our true selves, our ancestors, inner
Deeper.
worlds, outer worlds. What's that?
Deeper.
Yeah. Our deeper, our true, authentic selves. And I think that's what they fear. They fear us being authentic. This is why this artificial is very fake and very false. There's a lot going on. I'm gonna have to shoot off in a couple of minutes because Ori's got home. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, it's 2 hours. We've been babbling for 2 hours. It just flew by, like just clink.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, you know, just to wrap up, you know, these smart dust, I think they're connected to the smart supercomputers, to the quantum computers, and just the idea that a quantum computer can interact with quantum fields. Hello, how are you?
Just say hello. Microphone's on.
Hello.
Hello. They both look healthy. The hair's growing fast, huh? So yeah, you know, these quantum computers are able to work with quantum entangling principles, which means it's able to work in the quantum field. And so if they're able to load charge into the quantum field, and that charge is moving information around, can't that change the quantum field? Like if they put enough energy in and enough information in, can't they reprogram matter? And I think, like you say, then you add smart dust to that. You add 6G, 7G, 8G, 9G, 12G, 15G, all of those Gs to that, right? And what do you end up with? You could end up with one huge, super smart computer that is wired into quantum computing, and that is basically an externalizing, like carrying the you know how you can carry a Wi-Fi field and then you can carry that Wi-Fi field further away? Once the quantum field is generated, maybe that field can be carried on other fields, and you can create this one quantum computer field to surround the whole world and start to reprogram the matter on Earth. Who knows? I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Who knows? I don't know. But who knows what's possible?
Well, what I think is interesting is that what is matter? Like, what's matter? It means mother, right? So does matrix. Matrix means mother and womb. And what's cancer? Cancer is the womb, is the mother, is the water. And these three planets, Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury, are all in Cancer. There's like that portal kind of energy, the womb. What is the womb? Well, this realm is a womb. The oath in French means egg, and it sounds like Earth, and this is planet Earth. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a place where this is like an incubator where we can grow. And there might be multiple levels of Earth, but there's a kind of distortion where the matter has been distorted, like in the myth of Narcissus and the water being distorted. So he thinks it's himself, and he's not able to go deeper and recognize that, that he's not able to recognize that he's not his twin, But what I find interesting is that we're in Gemini season now. So Gemini is the twins. And so the story of the twins as well. The two twins, Ahura Mazda and Ahriman. So if we want to think about this time we're in now, this crossroads that we're at on so many levels, going from one yuga to another yuga, the year itself is an X or a 1. Like Elon Musk, they know this. They know how to use these planetary energies. They know how to tap into these energies and kind of and use them for their favor. But what's interesting is that we're in Gemini season now, the twins, and there's the story of Zervan birthing twins, which is Zervan's like infinite time, cosmic time. And Ahriman forced its way out of the womb. What I see happening is that this Ahrimanic force energy is forcing its way into matter. It's forcing its way into matter so that it can go through the process. And at the same time, there are those in control who want to force their way out of matter, who want to leave this realm, who want to go to Mars, for example, like Elon Musk. And it's basically there's spiritual bypassing going on as well. Lots of narcissism that we spoke about earlier, like especially on the right, and Elon Musk pushing this too. Trump, of course, master narcissist. And what I sense happening is that with this kind of programmable technology they have, the same way that humans are able to be programmed or manipulated to an extent, we follow programs, we watch programs on the black cube, on the box, on the telly, and we can be so submerged in the black box that we don't know how to think for ourselves, so to speak. But what is happening is that we are the ones who can birth the energy of Ahriman, or we can birth the energy of Ahura Mazda, the good one or the bad one. And there are people in power who want the energy of Ahriman, the materialistic energy, to be in the world, like this we energy, like hive mind, this collective soup that we can't think for ourselves. the death of individuation. And we saw that peak in 2020, and I think we're gonna see it happen again. That was like this kind of we're all in it together kind of thing. We are all connected, but at the same time, we've got to recognize our individual frequencies, which is our true, authentic self. We can only be authentic when we're not following others. I think that's what I'd like to finish up on today, is that we can only be authentic when we're not following others, when we're not when we're present, I guess, when we're centered, when we have an anchor point. I'll mention the Ak being the I as well, the central point, the observer, which is the middle, which is the anchor point. And I made a few notes the other day in regards to Gemini season, because the cedar tree is related to Gemini. And it's interesting because this might take us over for like another hour, so we might have to carry on next time. But Noah's Ark was built with cedar wood, apparently. The Ark of the Covenant was made with cedar wood. Am I right? Have you heard that as well? And it's very...
Is it cedar, or what was that wood that was so commonly? Is it a kind of cedar? I'm not sure. That there is another name, not cypress. What was it? But I know that the Holy of Holies was made out of cedar wood for the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Noah's Ark or the Ark of the Covenant?
Do you know what? I just think it's the same thing. I think that perhaps this space we're in is Noah's Ark. Perhaps the Ark of the Covenant. Like, what does it even mean? The Ark is being the story or the carrier of the covenant. I don't know. It's quite difficult for me to explain. But I just view that this wood, which we use to make books, which tell stories, is related to the world tree, Yggdrasil, and that the world tree is here, and that we're all a part of it, and that Noah's Ark, which is also the Ark, which is the eye, which also relates to the world tree and the central point as well, that the Ark is here. This is the Ark. The Ark is the container or the carrier, the vessel or the story, and that we're in that now, and that there was a flood that wiped our memories, but there wasn't a literal ark or a boat. The Ark is just basically a story, and the cedar is the cedar. So there's a cedar wood is like cedar wood, that which seeds ideas and stuff. And that's why I kind of relate it to the world tree, cedar wood. What else have I got written down here? Yeah, cedar is also not too far off from saber, S-E-B-A-R, which S-A-B-R-E is a sword, saber. And of course, our words are like swords, which goes back to the weirds, which are the three fates at the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, the cedar tree. So there are things like when I hear the Ark of the Covenant, never seen it. Apparently, it was one place, then it's the other, like whatever. The Ark of the Covenant and the Noah's Ark, I think it's a container of our ancestry. It's the world tree. And I don't think it's a thing. I think we're a part of it. And I think that's our ancestry. I think it relates to thoughts, the force all around us, which is all, again, part of the tree. And that those thoughts are seeds. And the seeds fall from the tree. And sometimes we catch them. And then they're memories. So we remember our roots, so to speak. And I have not heard of the Holy of Holies,
Okay, so just to the story is that the Noah's Ark is a massive boat, yeah, and the Ark of the Covenant is a little box, and the little box that people carried, they would carry it around, and it had to be covered in acacia wood, the Ark of the Covenant. Some people believe that those are scrolls, but in the ancient stories of the giants, do you remember there's the tablets that they would get and wear on their chests, and that this tablet would give them great power, occult power, and if they wore this tablet, they were able to become like superhuman, right? Now, the Ark of the Covenant was used in battle. In the ancient times, there are like writings about how like they would march onto a battlefield and remove the Ark of the Covenant, and the high priest would use the power of the Ark of the Covenant to wipe out the approaching army. So the Ark of the Covenant was some kind of a powerful device. I believe that Moses had a battle of magic with the Pharaoh, with the Pharaoh's crew of crony magicians, right? Kicked their butts, showed them like, my magic's stronger than yours, mine's bigger than yours, mine's. After Moses showed showed the Pharaoh that he was bigger than theirs, than the Pharaoh's magicians, Moses was allowed to take the Israelites out of bondage. I don't think he was allowed to. I think they were too scared to stop him. I think what happened was Moses said to the Pharaoh, I demand to take this, or else I will level this place around you and everybody in it. Maybe he had that kind of power, or he could wield that kind of power. And the Pharaoh was like, whoa, let's do this by contest. You will have a magical war contest, like a, what do you call it? What do they call it when Harry Potter has like a duel? You must have a magical duel. This is literally what happens. Is in the Bible, dude. Like you can't make this up. And he won the magical duel because he did like more funky tricks. His staff turned into a serpent, and they were like transfiguring like wood to living things. Is like something like they can't do.
So it was magic. A brazen serpent, yeah. The Caduceus is that brazen?
No, he just had a simple wooden stick, apparently, that he would turn into a serpent, and then he turned the serpent back into a wooden stick and carried it in his hand.
Okay, well, the reason I've heard it being called a brazen serpent is that is it bronze? Is it bronze or brass? Is made of copper and tin, which is copper Venus and tin Jupiter.
As far as I know, brass is made out of all 7 metals. It's a special combination. It's an alchemical combination of all of the 7 metals.
Okay, yeah, it would be bronze, not brass. Bronze is copper and tin. But yeah, the reason why I bring that up is because I just view it as like the brazen serpent is just the kind of spine, like having the spine, like having the central point of the 2 snakes, and having the anchor point, like being anchored, and like having the power to be able to change reality, like which we all have. You know, that's what I view the code users as also code users too. Like if we're able to use our coding of our ancestry, which is the code users, the DNA helix, like we all have that power, and the Israelites is our real light. You know, maybe real, like I always look at things as like I make up my own story. It's like the Israelites is real light. Well, our Israel light is our DNA. And the 144,000, I've heard that's the number that relates to our DNA as well. So it's like, was it literal, like matter, people? Yeah, maybe. But also I just tried to relate it to all of our, like the collective now as well. And that if we're a bit more brazen, if we have the balance, or with if being a bit more like using, you know, tapping into our coding, which is inside of us, you know. Yeah. I don't know why I thought brazen was bronze, brass. What does brazen mean? Brazen.
Brazen, I think, is isn't it something that you when you make something out of metal? Isn't it brazen? I don't know. Like to manufacture. I'm not going to pretend. I'm sure about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was right. So brazen is also to be bold or doing something without shame or something, without being embarrassed.
Exactly.
Authentic. Or being authentic, right? Yeah.
If you're going to make a statue out of yourself, make it out of bronze, you know?
Yeah, so
or brass,
brazen.
or gold, you know?
Yeah, so brazen can be brass or bronze, and bronze is made of copper and tin, and copper's Venus and tin is Jupiter, and that's the energy we're at now. And the water is matter, so we can kind of move the waters or like see more clearly maybe by being a bit more brazen. I find that very interesting how it links back to the beginning of the conversation in regards to Mercury being the caduceus and the caduceus being copper and tin, perhaps, the Venus and Jupiter, the magnetic electric, the inwards, the outwards.
It's very interesting. One thing you said was, I think you said about cedar being related to Mercury. I've always understood cedar to be more related to Jupiter. Cedar, and the other sacred wood used is related to Mars. So, for example, the wood that was used to make the Ark of Noah's Ark was Mars. Isn't that interesting? That's number 9 on the Enneagram. Because that was Cyprus. Cyprus, as far as I've always known it, is related to carries the frequency of Mars. So if you burn a piece of cypress wood in your fireplace, you're going to invoke the power of Mars. If you burn a piece of cedar wood, you're going to invoke the power of Jupiter. Rosewood would be Venus. Sandalwood would be Mercury. Yes? No, you can't. I'm on a live. So, sorry, someone who wanted to talk to me. You can hear them.
We should probably wrap up in a sec.
Yeah,
otherwise we'll be talking for hours, which is all well and good, but we've got to wrap up sometime.
Well, brother, it's. I understand you've got to go. I'm just going to be about 5-10 minutes more.
Sure. Right.
But I understand.
I'll say my goodbyes now then, and I'll be listening in. So much love to you, man.
Big love. It's been an honor having you on the show as always, and I think I'm going to run till 2:30. I like round numbers. I don't like 24. It's going to be 2:30. It adds up to 5. It's nice. It works for me. It's a Wednesday today. Call me superstitious. I think the numbers are delicious. Big love, dear brother. You have an absolutely wonderful day. It's been an honor Thank you for joining us, and take it easy and keep the smile alive.
See ya.
Om Namah Narayana. Big love, big blessings to you, brother. Yeah, so, many of these ideas that we've been sort of throwing at the table here, they might seem unrelated, and they are to an extent, but it makes me wonder about the technology of the Ark of the Covenant as it relates to CERN, as it relates to much of the technology that I believe that we have gotten from extraterrestrial beings that are not earthbound beings, right? Be they extra dimensional, be they beings from inside the earth, or be they beings from another dimension or another planet or another, whatever we want to call it. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I definitely get the sense that these beings have been helping us for a long time, and some of them have been helping us to our detriment, right? Then they're not all the good guys here to save us. I don't believe that story. But I do think that there's definitely a big and powerful shift happening around us at the moment that is a gear shift. I don't mean like the world is just suddenly going to flap butterfly wings. But I think butterflies are very much on point. I think that has a lot to do with the MK Ultra projects and the Monarch butterflies. I think it's central to the story. And I also get the impression that there's a sure development happening in terms of our technology. It seems to be moving in a very particular direction. It seems to be on a one-track mental plane, shall we say? And it's not really for our own benefit. I don't think it's for our benefit. I think it's at our detriment. I think like what you guys have been saying in the chat is on point. Somebody was saying as well. Was it you, Zephite? I can't remember. And yeah, man, big love, dear brothers and sisters. The idea that, what was it you were saying? Quantum computers being related to humans. I think there's something to that. Wow. I think I have to say bye. I think that's my delivery at the gate, ringing my bell. So I'm gonna have to say bye to you guys. But I'll leave you with that as a last thought. No, that was my son playing games. I saw him running past. He's playing Ring the Bell and Run Away. And he's gonna have his mom going to check at the intercom and no one there. She's gonna have to walk outside, check and see if there's anyone down there. I'm gonna see her getting annoyed at him just now because he's playing the fool. He's a cheeky little bugger. He's 9 years old. Probably got a few minutes. But yeah, so this idea that they are using quantum computers to try to recreate the human consciousness vehicle. Because humans have the ability to reprogram and rewrite matter. Think about it as for a moment, right? The reason that humans have the ability to rewrite matter, right, is because matter is a code of consciousness, and that matter is consciousness, but it's just consciousness that's been coded in a particular way. So humans having that flow of consciousness is able to program that consciousness to make it different kinds of matter. So we can literally affect matter with our thoughts. Now they want to create computers that are operating on the same level as humans to be able to operate subquantum fields or operate through subquantum fields in the same way that humans are operating subquantum fields to bring information from spiritual plane into actuation here in our bodies physically. This is basically a very similar, and somebody pointed that out, and I think it's like a really good observation. I think it's really on point that they are mimicking the human potential or trying to. I don't think they'll be able to. Let's face it. There's so much more to being human. Like we carry so much more, and even these AIs are trying to mimic us. But have you noticed that the AIs are getting dumber? Like it's getting easier to get the AIs to make mistakes. I've noticed this. Very strange. And you can ask them really. I asked the AI simple questions last week about numerology, and the AI couldn't count. I was shocked. I mean, this thing is at the end of the day, it is a glorified calculator, right? And you would think that the one thing that a glorified calculator can do is count. Not anymore. These glorified calculators can't even count. Anyway, we're getting to the 2.5 hour moments. I want to say it's been an honor being here with you all. Honor being here with Shinobi. I hope you guys are going to have a great day. Take it easy. Keep smiling. And Om Shanti. Keep the world happy. Keep your thoughts in alignment. And sending you all so much love and so much peace. And big blessings to all of you. Om Namah Shivaya.